Okay, perfect. So I think we are live. We'll just give it a few seconds. So it's all running. Okay. And today I've got an amazing guest in the house. Oh my goodness. It's so great to have Allan Turner-Ward. Allan, welcome to my show. How are you today?
I'm very good. All the better for seeing you. This is lovely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, perfect. I love your British accent. So everyone can tell that you are not right now in Bournemouth, where I spent 10 years of my life and absolutely loved it. And that's where we met about 5 years ago, Allan.
Was it 5?
Yes.
Was it that long ago? Wow. Okay.
It feels, actually for me, it feels longer than that. I feel like I've known you for all my life.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, Allan, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I manifested you in my life. Did you know that?
What? Wow. That's for anybody that doesn't know what manifest means, that could sound quite dodgy, but that sounds great.
I'm gonna tell you the backstory. I don't actually think I ever told you this, which is kind of interesting because I remember, I think it was Tuesday afternoon, and I was working until 4 o'clock in the afternoon at work. And I got invited to this art exhibition, which was open until 5 p.m. in Boscombe. And a couple of days before, I had these thoughts like, oh, I'd like to be on the radio. It was like one of my childhood dreams. I was going through these 100 goals for the year.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this would be great to actually fulfill that dream of mine. And that afternoon, I was like, can I make it to this art exhibition? I was like, yeah, of course I can make it. Like I was a bit in a rush, but I came there and they were just closing. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And there was just you and me. And we started talking and we got on like a house on fire. And since then we've been really good friends. So thank you so much for this friendship. Like I think that there is no coincidence, that serendipity that we've been put together. And I remember you invited me also to the radio show on the same day, but I had to go to the college. So it was amazing. Like it was really great. But Allan, I want to tell the listeners a little bit about you. So as you can see, Allan's got this beautiful studio set up, which is his lockdown studio, right?
You could say so, yes. Well, it's basically my apartment. Yeah, but okay, yeah, it's my lockdown studio. You could say that.
Let's just call it a studio. It's more professional. Yeah. And basically, you can see 3 flags. So there is a German flag, which I believe your father is from Germany.
No, my mother's very German.
Okay, your mom is from Germany. Yeah. Your father is from England.
Yes.
Yes. Got it. And the United States flag means that you lived in the United States, right?
I was there a long time, through most of my 20s. So yeah, I love America.
That's the best time. I was also in 20s in America. I lived in Chicago.
Were you?
Yeah.
Telling me that, weirdly.
Yeah, I mean, it was just for 4 months, but still it counts, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not forget that art studio. That was that girl. It was a good friend of mine, Vanessa, that had the art studio, wasn't it? And she did this brilliant art gallery thing. I mean, that was I do remember going in there. I mean, completely wasted on me, to be honest. It was far too intellectual, but it was really, 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 really good. So yeah,
What were you doing in there?
What's that?
What were you doing in there? Like, did you practice some DJing or something, or what was it?
No. I was a very good friend. I'm still very good friends with Vanessa, and Vanessa invited me to go to the art gallery, and I went to just have a look. I showed my face out of politeness and support, really, I suppose. And it was, that was the day. So.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, I love these times. And every time you tell me, Allan, like something about Bournemouth, or you share pictures or videos, or you say, oh, I just moved into, I don't know, Westbourne, or I was like, wow, I used to live there. Like I have amazing memories. So thank you so much for bringing that back to me sometimes. So what I was going to say is Allan is a DJ, entertainer, and a producer. So he's basically in the entertainment world. Like basically you bring fun to people, right?
I do. Well, yes. I mean,
yes, you do. I've been to your parties and I've been to your gigs, and we've done stuff together. And you also produce your radio show. So I was on your show in Wimborne, on Wimborne Radio, but now you are Hope FM, right, in Bournemouth?
I am on Hope FM. I mean, they're very kind. I was on Hope FM years ago, and then I left, and I've come back now to Hope FM. But they let me. I do my show once a week there. It's a 2-hour show, my own show. But then I syndicate the show out to lots of other different stations. So it really has. Talking about manifestation, yeah, it has. I syndicate it to a German station, a station in Vancouver, Cyprus, the Bahamas, and also another English station called State of the Art, run by my friend Mike Hartwell. So it's really good. I mean, it's flowing. It's really, really flowing, and it gets repeated, and then it goes out as a podcast. So, but yeah, all from Hope FM Studios in the south coast of England.
I actually love when you send me the replays or the recordings, and I have so much fun. Honestly, sometimes I listen to you in the bathroom, like when I'm getting ready, and sometimes I hear my name on the radio show. I'm like, awesome! And I'm gonna share a part of my interview from 2 days ago, also because I think it was so great and it was so spontaneous, and I just really liked it. But Allan, just going back, tell us a little bit about. I want to ask you about your childhood. Like, where did you grow up? What were your dreams? What were the dreams that came true? Because you are such a great manifester. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a good man. I think you might, I mean, just in case of anybody's watching that doesn't know what you mean by manifestation, can you explain that a bit more first?
Yes. So manifesting means when you truly, truly inside you believe that it's going to happen. For example, I manifested living in England. Like when I was a little girl, I knew I was going to live in England. When we were in the English classes, learning about Stonehenge and Westminster Abbey and all of these. I was like, yeah, I see myself there. And you know what, Allan? I didn't know how. I didn't have any doubts, but I just knew I was going to be there. Like, that's it. And I know you have many stories like this. So just tell us a little bit, like what was maybe your biggest childhood dream that has come true? Come on.
Well, no, the one that immediately springs to mind, I went to work. When I was 12, I went to work. I didn't go to work. I went on holiday to Epcot.
Child labor.
Yeah, I was doing a paper round at 12, but yeah, at 12 I went to Epcot with my parents, and I remember being in Epcot and we were walking around have you ever been there? But there's all the country towns and stuff like that, and I remember the fireworks were going off, and it was absolutely brilliant. And I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention at all to what was going on. I was just there, but loving it, but not really watching anything. I was just kind of in the moment, and I had this circular, ravey kind of glow in the dark thing, and I kept throwing it in the air. And I remember my mum saying, "Allan, do you not realise where you are? You should be paying attention." And I just, without a doubt, said, without any hesitation, said, "Well, I'm going to work here anyway."
I love that.
And that was when I was 12. Now, weirdly, 10 years pretty much to that date, when I was 22, I'd applied for a job to work at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, USA. And they did, I mean, it just came through. It came through, and I was there then for a year. And it was one of the best years ever to work out there. But I mean, that's not the only thing. I do remember constantly, I mean, because the manifestation thing can work in a negative as well. I remember when I was constantly getting record deals when I was in my teenage years. And I remember saying, well, I'll have a hit in Germany. And why? But I did, you know, and the thing was, then I did have one over there, and I kept, without a doubt, even though because I'd said it, I kept, in essence, trying for Germany more, weirdly, because I'd said it, or somebody once said to me, your music's only good enough to make it in Germany, because then I believed it, and then I did actually go out there. And then after that, I remember thinking, I could do a bit of comedy. And I landed this big comedy tour in Germany, where I was doing stand-up comedy in German, going around Germany. It was awful. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. So I was translating British jokes into German. And then I was literally on stage in front of all these Germans telling jokes in German. And I just remember thinking, I do not like this path. So I got off it quite quickly. But I mean, but the weird thing was, I did manifest that, without a doubt, because people kept saying when I was on German TV releasing my record, "Oh, you are funny, you are a stand-up comedian." And I went, well, I'm not really a stand-up comedian. I've never done comedy before, but suddenly this opportunity came around to support the biggest comedian on German television So I was like, well, we were going around all these massive arenas in Germany, and I just thought, well, yeah, well, why not? I'm not going to turn it down. So, but I got off that boat quite quickly.
Well, it's quite funny because you're Allan Turner, so you can't turn it down. You just turn it to something better.
I know. I always turn Ward around. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Oh, I love that. And just tell us a little bit about, so where did you actually live when you were, I don't know, in your teenage, or like, where did you?
Childhood, I grew up between Bournemouth and Germany. So my mother's from Frankfurt, and I spent my holidays, my summer holidays, Easter holidays, always in Frankfurt. So I was between the south coast of England and Germany all the time growing up. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. And the south, pretty much where I am now, weirdly, where I promised I would never move back to when I was in LA. But weirdly, I love it down here now. I live in Westbourne and in Dorset. And I really love where I come from now, weirdly. But I didn't love it when I was growing up. I wanted to get out so much.
Really? Why was that?
Do you know what? I don't know. I suppose I'm quite a colourful character, and I don't say that as necessarily a positive, but we talked about this briefly before we went on air, and I said the one thing I loved with America, what it was, that it's very charismatic and very big and very annoying, and I'm just that, and I always felt a bit too much when I was growing up in Bournemouth. And Bournemouth is a really cool town, you know, and the other DJs that are in Bournemouth are really cool, serious DJs, and I was never that serious. I loved it. I love that part about you, you know, like it's... No, I mean, I'm definitely, without a doubt, probably one of the funnest DJs there is, but I'm definitely not the most serious. I take not being serious very seriously, but yeah, weirdly, I always just, but then it took I moved to Los Angeles, and I was there for 5.5 years, where I was like acting and doing warm up for TV shows and stuff like that. And I had a visa problem, and I had to come back to England, and I came back with a thump, like an absolute thump, came back to England at 32, and then just randomly ended up in radio, and then randomly also ended up just DJing. But I never really classed myself as a DJ because I was an entertainer, and I knew I'd traveled all over Europe in my 20s entertaining. And I just, like I said, I never really thought I was cool enough to be, or serious enough to be a DJ. But then I realized my knowledge of music was really good, and I really just genuinely loved hyping a crowd, whatever the size may be. I just loved hyping crowds. So yeah, the ball just rolled, and I realized that was my path. See, that's the thing. You might say with manifestation, oh, I really want to create, because I wanted to be a singer really more than anything when I was younger, and I didn't have a very good voice, so it was like you can't, if you're really, really good with numbers and you're not a very good dancer, it's probably still best that, you know, the manifestation is one thing, but I also think you've got to realize what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And I think just to say, oh, I really want to be a dancer, but I've got no rhythm and I can't dance, and but then it's probably best you don't try and manifest that, because I think where manifestation is brilliant, it's when your strengths meet your passions. Does that make sense? Rather than just your passion, because you could be loving singing all day long, but if you can't sing, that's then classed as a really good hobby.
I love that. It's yeah, I mean, we talked about this. I mean, you interviewed me on Law of Attraction on your show, and we were talking about this, like that we attract what we are, right? So we can attract good, and we can attract also negative. Yeah. I don't want to say it's bad, it's just not aligned with us, let's say. Yeah. So let's say you and me, we are aligned. Like, we understand that if you joke, I'm not going to get offended because it's just we're having fun. But some other people would get offended with this, and they would perceive it as negative. Do you see what I mean? So it's very interesting. Yeah. It's very important actually to have the right thoughts, as I always talk about. Like, when people come to me or my clients with some problem, I would say, well, how can you change it? Like, how can you change your thought about this? Like, what are you actually thinking? Where is this thought coming from? So it's really important to have the clear mind and take time sometimes just to sort out the mind, you know, the thoughts, and sometimes just to reflect back, okay, it is what it is. It is what happened, but how can I learn from it? How can I make it better next time? Because a lot of people, and I was one of them, I used to beat myself up like for stupid things, for something that was not even so important, like for, I don't know, grades at school, or I don't know, liking a wrong guy, you know, like these kind of things that in the end of the day didn't matter, but I would spend months and months, you know, like beating myself up. I don't know if you ever experienced that. Like, do you have any example where you attracted something bad into your life or someone?
My gosh. I mean, yeah, I think the thing to remember with law of, see, the thing is, I was really anti law of attraction for years, because I thought, oh, I'm a Christian and this is very unbiblical. But actually everything in law of attraction is actually very biblical, because Jesus actually talked all about it. You know, faith of a mustard seed will throw the mountain into the ocean. You know, you have not because you ask not. And, you know, seek and ye shall find, you know, ask and the door shall be open to you. So it's, but the thing is, what you think about, you will bring about. So if you really do believe, and it is, there's an element of insanity to it as well, isn't there? Because you could sit there and go, oh, I'm really rubbish. I hate myself. I hate myself. And if you say that enough to yourself, you really will begin to hate yourself. But that can also work the other way around. If you start to, I mean, and we've all done it, you know, we've all had moments like that where we do that sort of thing, haven't we? Where we go, oh my, why did I do that? I'm such an idiot. Why did I don't know. But if you stay in that place, I do believe that's very dangerous, because you are then manifesting extra stuff. Can you, look, I'm going to say something quite harsh here, but how often do you see someone that is complaining about their life, you know, 1 year, and you meet them, you know, and then you meet them again the next year, they're still complaining about everything goes wrong for me. Everything goes wrong for me. Oh, everything's always going wrong for me. Then a year later, you speak to them again. Oh, everything's always going wrong for me. Now, life will always happen. There will be things that happen that are bad, and there will be things that happen that are good. But you'll find that the people that are always complaining about stuff, when you know that when you look at their situation, it's not that bad at all, they become a big shit magnet, because that's what they're manifesting. And because they're choosing that, but they don't know what they're doing. And it can be changed with such a simple mind switch. And look, we can always fall back into that as well. We can always fall back to that place where we forget that we're supposed to be keeping positive. You know, that's not always an easy, but yeah, I think positivity can get you out of any mess. You know, it can get you out of the most amazingly horrible situations. But look, I mean, it's easier said than done. And I'm not exactly sitting here, you know, I'm healthy, I'm very lucky. So I'm very fortunate with what I have around me at the moment. So it's very easy for me to say that at this time, you know. But there were definitely times without a doubt during lockdown that, especially people that were in the entertainment industry, are probably going, oh, it's all going so wrong, it's all going so wrong, it's all going so wrong. But I suppose that's the point where you have to suddenly go, right, I'm going to choose to be proactive here rather than reactive, and we're going to try and create something within this mess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I love how you said it, like being proactive rather than reactive, because I've just finished a leadership course for 5 months, which was taught in California. And it's interesting because there were all sorts of personalities. There was over 100 of us students, and a lot of people were very reactive. And it's like, what are you trying to achieve with this? Like, what good is it going to bring? That you are going to complain, or you're going to react, or you're just going to disagree, or you're just going to, you know, like be passive about something. Like, instead of taking the action to actually to move somewhere and to make something better. But I want to also, so it's really interesting to, it's funny because I'm creating this digital course, which is from stack to fired up. Like, I'm so about taking action. Like, I literally, I literally can't stand people who don't move for a long time, but they have enough time to complain about it. I'm like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And nothing is good enough. I'm like, okay, let's just let you do it until you figure it out and come back to the original plan.
Lenka, the one thing I'll say about you that I find fascinating is that you were on my show you were on my show twice, on my radio show twice. It was about 6 years ago, I think. It was 2016. And I remember you were on once, and you just said about what you're going to be doing and what you want to achieve with your videos that you're doing now, but also that you want to travel around the world. And you're from Slovakia, but I mean, in the meantime, I think I've received so many messages from you where you're doing a video from here and you're doing a video from here. And then even during lockdown, you were only staying seated for a little while, weren't you? I mean, you weren't back home for that long. And I remember even then you were proactive and you were still doing stuff. So it is a case of, and I know with your family life and stuff, it hasn't been a lot of the time easy. So you could have sat there as well and gone, oh, poor me, I'm having a really bad day, you know, but you haven't. I very rarely hear that with you. And it is really cool where you have been very, very proactive with what you're doing. I mean, you're in Italy now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Buongiorno tutti.
What are you doing in Italy? Why are you in Italy?
So I'm enjoying Italy. I actually like being near the ocean or near the sea, let's say, because here is the Adriatic Sea. And as you said, like, actually my story is kind of funny because I was traveling Asia for almost 2 years. And then I was coming back, like I was running out of money. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? As you know, I packed my life in England and I didn't see myself back in Slovakia because I come from a small place. And like you felt in Bournemouth, that's how I felt in my village. Like I was too much for people, you know, I always wanted to do good things and be. But what happened was, so that I came back to Prague, and it's funny because it was January 16th, I think, 2020. And my auntie asked me, did you come back because of the virus? I'm like, what virus? Like, I had no idea. I'm like,
really?
Yes, I was like, oh, some news again. And then like 2 months later, they closed the border when I came back from London. I was like, okay, I think this is going to take a little while. So what happened was I found myself back at home in my small village of 4,000 people after 17 years. I mean, I've been visiting, but I never lived there again. And all of a sudden I was there for, Alan, I managed 3 months, and that was too much for me. Like I couldn't wait to like go out and explore, you know?
Did you make a lot of peace with the place? Because you said that you didn't want to be there when you were younger. See,
I will tell you that I've manifested amazing stuff out of nothing. Like I started my yoga business. I was like teaching everywhere. I had like 2-3 classes a day, like even face to face. Like when it started opening up, I was running my detox groups. I was doing my coaching, my Thai massage. So in the end of the day, it was such a great time. And I want to I want to read some comments because we've got Andy in the house. Hi, Andy. So she says, hi, and Alan.
I can't see any of the comments, so I can't see anything right now.
Okay.
Green thing.
I'm going to read it to you. Hello, everyone from Kika. I hope everyone is enjoying the stream. Yeah, I hope so too. And Andy is asking, can I manifest an ice cream? And I've got a great answer to you for you.
Go on then.
I've manifested stuff that honestly I had no idea. Like I'll tell you a funny thing, Alan. I was on the beach here, and here there are these small pebbles. And they're really cute, like different colors. So I was every time on the beach collecting the pebbles during the summer. And I was like, oh, I wish I had this, you know, like this kind of bag. Like I don't know what they're made of. Alan, look.
Yes, I've just realized I can watch it on my phone. So I'm watching on my phone. I didn't know we were there. Hang on. Hello, everyone. How are you? Good there.
So, Alan, I was on the beach in the like middle of nowhere, manifesting this kind of bag. Okay. I don't know what they call it, like a gift bag for my stones. And you know what? Like when I was walking home, there was this bag on the beach. Yeah. I was like, there was nothing.
No, I tell you what, I do believe that. I believe that. Sorry to interrupt you, but I do believe that as well. And it's amazing because someone says, because the greatest guy to talk about this manifestation thing is actually, have you seen Jim Carrey's stuff? When he talks, but he talks about it's not a case of manifesting it. Because I've heard a lot of people mock it and say, 5. I want 5 Ferraris. I want 5 Ferraris. Oh, look, I've got no 5 Ferraris. It doesn't work. It was like, but you didn't believe it.
Yeah.
You didn't believe it. You're mocking it. You're mocking it. So of course it's not going to work. You're mocking the universe. You can't mock the universe. You can't mock God. You can't do that. But you can, on the other hand, if you really, really believed in the manifestation of 5 Ferraris, if you really believed it, like Conor McGregor did, the boxer, from Ireland. Now that guy was on benefits one year in the roughest part of Dublin, and within 3 years manifested some stupid amounts of million, billion, or whatever. I mean, I'm not getting on how much he manifested, but when you watch where he came from, if he told anybody at the beginning, he's got numerous Ferraris now. I mean, but I think, yeah, if you can manifest an ice cream, you can manifest. If you can manifest that, you can manifest that. I really believe it all comes down to whether you believe it or not. And if you don't believe it, doesn't matter how many times you say it, and believing it and walking in it. You said that on the radio show the other day. It's believing and walking in it, but also letting it go, which I struggle with the most.
I was gonna say, because I'm glad you brought this topic, because the topic we are talking about is actually growing a business during lockdown. Because I remember, like you say, like you never see me still, right? But I can say the same thing about you, because when the lockdown started, you were like, where were you? Like you were on YouTube or somewhere, you were on Twitch, you were somewhere else. You're like, download this app and do this. I'm like, what is Twitch? But my students knew like it was for gaming. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like just go with the flow and see what it is. So you've actually, even though all the restaurants and bars and clubs shut down, so you were like in the worst position possible for your business.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about this. Like where did you get these ideas? Like, I know that now you're really fully booked, like you're booked more than before lockdown. Yeah? So how is it possible?
Well, do you know what? I think it was weird because it was Friday night, and I remember Boris Johnson came on the television and just said, pubs will close tonight. So I did my last gig on that Friday night, Friday the 20th of March, 2020. Yeah. So that was it. That was it. That was my job, my work, everything just done. But weirdly, I felt an immense peace about all it all. I remember only a month or two before saying, oh, I fancy a change. And even praying for a change. And I'm like, be careful what you pray for, because you might just get it. And I remember literally a month later that this thing about COVID was coming out, and then it was getting a bit more by the week. It was getting a bit more. And then suddenly we were watching other countries go into lockdown. And then suddenly there was that Friday, and that Friday was the finish. And then I was doing a radio show at Radio Wimborne. I'd been there for years, and I did the last show on there. And halfway through the show on the Monday, it was my birthday on the 23rd of March. It was full lockdown. So not even radio shows could go on. Oh, and I came home that night, and if I'm honest, I had a bottle of brandy with me, and I thought, well, I'm going to go live from my living room. And I've always wanted to do this. It's always fascinated me, streaming anyway. But I just thought, I'm going to try this. And the first 4 or 5, maybe even the first 10 were really, really terrible. But I was gaining a bit of a following. So people were watching every night to watch me go live from this. And then I created. So when you say this is my studio, it's actually my apartment, but it's a big corner of my lounge. So I've created that as my studio, which is, somehow it just came together, and it was bits. And my mother helped as well, because she's really good with angles and visuals and stuff like that. So she was telling me how, I'd be online afterwards just with her, kind of going around about she'd be at her place, which was a few miles away in Poole, and she'd be looking, and we'd be looking, well, that's a good angle. Oh, that's a terrible angle. But it all became quite a brilliant project. And then I suppose, you're right. For 8 months, I went live on Facebook, and copyright did take us down eventually. And then I went live on Twitch for another 8 months, and then the pubs opened. And I actually am missing streaming. I mean, it sounds silly, doesn't it? I spent all that time wishing I could go back to work, and now I'm working loads. And now I'm actually weirdly missing this communication with the world, because at the moment I'm just, within the south of England and gigging here and there. And I love it. And I'm really, really grateful, because I'm booked all the time. But I am yearning to start streaming again, because I just love that. It's a whole new medium that I didn't really pay attention to before lockdown. So there was positives, there was positives that came out of that negative, as it were.
Yeah, and you know what? Like it was the whole mindset change for the world, because there were people who are like, oh, I can't go to work and I have to work from home and it's super hard. And I've got my English students who are like, I don't want to study from home. And it's funny because then they didn't want to go back to school, or they didn't want to go back to work. They're like, I want to just work from home. I want to study from home. I'm like, really? Like you complained at the beginning and now like you got so comfortable. So it was like a out of the comfort, new comfortable.
Well, there's a lot of people that aren't going back to their offices, isn't there? I mean, they suddenly found even like chairmen of different boards around the country that would meet in London or whatever, they're now meeting online every week. Even after lockdown, they're realizing, well, there's actually no need to go and meet. We can do this all online. And I must say, with the lockdown, I connected with some brilliant friends from around the world that I probably wouldn't connect to in normal time because we were just too busy. So that was brilliant as well, because we would have these parties where you'd do a lockdown party on Zoom. I'm sure you did the same. And then you're connecting with people and you think, well, I wouldn't be connected to these old friends the same way if it wasn't for lockdown. So, you know, that there's something to be grateful there as well. But don't get me wrong, it wasn't a walk in the park. I mean, it was really scary. And I remember a DJ friend of mine, I'm not going to say his name, but a really, really one of my best friends, but who's also, he's a DJ, but he's also got a proper job, as it were. He's got a proper career. So he just kind of DJs part-time. But I remember him saying, oh, that's it for you now, your career's over. And I thought, nah, I'm gonna take this to another limit now. This is gonna be the making. This is gonna be something else. But I remember him saying, oh, that's it then. You know, you probably aren't gonna, that's it for your DJing, it's over, isn't it? And I went, I just thought to myself, no. I thought, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Now that's another interesting thing with law of attraction, because I think a lot of the time we say it, but it is only until you think it and believe it that you can manifest. So even see the difference between British humor and American humor, and I'm growing up in Germany as well, in the German humor. A lot of the time in England, if we don't like someone, we're really polite to them. And if we really, really like someone, we're kind of almost jokey, taking the mickey out of them. I didn't understand that when I came back from America. It took me a good year to understand that whole thing, because I thought, well, they don't, oh God, they're so horrible to me. They're so horrible to me. And I think that's the thing, because they're not thinking that, they're thinking something completely different. And I think that's something quite important to realize. So you don't always need to walk around being barbaric and saying, I'm going to take over the world. You don't need to say these things. It's when you're thinking, it's what's going on in there, isn't it? That's more important than anything. It's where you believe for yourself that matters the most.
Yes. And I would like to ask you, Allan, what is your best advice for people who are in your field, you know, in like entertainment, DJing, and they're stuck? Like they're like, okay, I think the pubs are open, or the bars. Is it right?
But you want me to give them advice? Oh my gosh.
Let's say they were streaming and now they need to go out there and they have this anxiety, like, okay, I don't have a COVID green pass, or I don't know, there are no people. What's your best advice based on your experience? Like, what's helped you maybe with your mindset, or maybe with, I don't know, did you have any blocks going back?
I think the most important thing is stay consistent with while I was streaming, I think the most important thing is to stay consistent, keep the content coming out, and master your craft is very important. Because I think the thing is, I think one thing we all struggle with sometimes is when we look around and see what someone else is doing and you think, oh, I want to be doing that. Oh, they're doing it. Oh, crikey. And I think one thing that is important is just to focus on your own this doesn't just go with DJing though, this goes with entertainment, this goes with being a plumber. You just be the best of what you can be. And then to a certain degree, as long as you're putting yourself out there and you're being the best of what you are, I think skill set will show itself, because you'll attract people, won't you? I mean, it will start to come to you. A friend of mine, he played drums, his dad played drums in Marmalade, the band Marmalade in the 60s, and he played drums in a Gallagher and Lyle, and they were both really massive multi-million selling bands. And I remember saying to him, I said, well, did you just, his name's Ray Duffy. He won't mind me saying this, but I remember saying, well, was that your plan? Did you want to be in a band that was just like mega big and going around the world the way you did? And he said, no, I just wanted to be fantastic at playing drums. And it's like the rest just came. And I suppose that was it. And but then he allowed himself open for opportunities. So he became really good at what he's doing. And then he was also going forth in any opportunities that came his way and not blocking himself.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
I hope, yeah.
No, I mean, it's inspiring. And for me, any story is inspiring, but that's me. And I've got Andy, who actually did manifest a tomato soup on her photo camp.
How do you know that?
Like, but people, Alan, people sometimes they manifest stuff and they don't see that they manifest it. Like, like they're walking on the street and they find like $10 and they're like, oh, $10. They don't actually see that they're manifesting,
100%. I mean, I think that it works both ways. I mean, that's the thing about manifestation. And look, I don't even know whether I've completely mastered it yet. It's something that will go on throughout life, but this is all pretty temporary anyway, isn't it? But it's at the same time, yeah, you'll attract, and you attract what you put out. If you're kind to people, people tend to be kind back, don't they? Even if it's not the people you're being kind to, you just tend to. But if you go around being angry at everyone, there'll start to be some anger coming back at you as well, So I think then you're manifesting that a little bit. So yes. I mean, like you said, the manifestation is working all the time. And it says that in The Secret, doesn't it? It's working all the time, even when you're asleep.
Yeah. And I have a question for you now about your dream job, because I was under the impression that having fun and DJing was your dream job. But is it true?
I don't know. I suppose, look, when I'm doing it, it feels like my dream job. I love it. I really, really love it. I'm not too nervous, but I still get really, really nervous every time I'm even doing a gig in a pub. Like I treat every gig as if it's the same. So when I did Britain's Got Talent, I treated that the same as going in a bar. It was, and when I played in Dubai 5 New Year's Eves on a row, but it's still, the moment you're there behind your booth and you've got a microphone, it's a crowd and they're there to be entertained. So it doesn't matter whether it's a spit and sawdust English pub or whether it's a massive party on a beach in Dubai or whether it's at Disney in California. It's literally, you're there to do the job. But I suppose maybe that was my dream, but my dream was always to be a pop star when I was younger. That was always my dream. But I just wasn't a very good singer. But I did release records and I was rapping. And then I had a revelation in a church when I was about 20 that I probably wasn't going to be a pop star, but I did still have like that hit record in Europe. But the song was bigger than me. I wasn't really big from it. And even when I look back then, it was only when I got to Walt Disney when I was 22, which we talked about earlier, that I realized how to use the personality side of things. And then I went to work for a company called Air Tours and Thompson. And then my job was literally being an entertainer on the mic. So I wasn't even DJing then. I was just an entertainer walking around. So I suppose the dream was always to make people smile and get people entertained. Do you know where the bug hit for me to do entertainment? Can I tell you where the bug hit?
Yeah, come on.
When I was at my school, my boarding school, actually I was going as a day pupil at this point, but I remember if you got in trouble, they would stand you up in assembly. You know what assembly is at the beginning of school, and the whole school sits in front of the headmaster and they go through all the stuff. And then if there's someone that's in trouble, they stand them up and try and humiliate them.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, I remember being up, and I didn't smoke, but the night before I'd been on a bus and I'd had a cigarette. Something so simple. It was something so trivial. It was so silly. But I remember the deputy headmaster getting me on stage and asking me about this stuff. And I was saying subconscious jokes, and everyone the assembly was laughing. And I remember thinking, I'm loving this, even though I'm supposed to be receiving a massive telling off here. I really realized, really, this is great. This is really fun.
You love the crowd.
Yeah, I was like, I remember seeing people smiling and I was like, oh, this is working. Okay, this is good. I'm getting a reaction. I'm livened up this little party.
How old were you?
I was probably about 15 at that point. 15 or 16. Yeah, and I really.
But I also loved like pulling jokes in the classroom. Like, I love that.
Yeah, no, definitely. But when I was younger, when I saying about the pop thing, I used to put boy bands together all the time and stuff like that. So I poured my heart and soul during my teenage years, constantly putting these groups together, and we were close to being signed loads and loads of times. And it just didn't happen. And it was just, yeah, it would just, I guess maybe, but that's where I questioned the law of attraction a little bit, because I was like, maybe I just didn't believe it enough. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But sometimes some things aren't meant to be as well. Would you agree with that?
You know, it's an interesting question, because many times we think that's what we need, but it's not what we need. Like sometimes, or it's not the time. Like many times and this is the message I want to send out there to our listeners and viewers, because it's not about getting that thing, but I always say it's about the journey. You know, it's the journey. Like why does it matter like that goal, that achievement? Why does it matter so much that you wouldn't enjoy the journey to get there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I wonder whether maybe I just didn't believe it enough, even though I was putting all the work in. I wonder whether my faith level wasn't not faith level in my faith, but I wonder whether I didn't believe it enough. I wonder whether there's that. But also then the other thing is, in a weird way, we're still on that same journey, and I'm kind of doing it now and I'm enjoying it. So it's just a different thing, but it's within the same category, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to ask you if you would like to sing a little bit for us.
No, I don't want to at all.
Okay, the option B is to share if you have your favorite song or maybe favorite artist.
Oh, crikey. Well,
I know it's so hard because you're a DJ, like you like many, but there must be something that when I hear this song, that's Allan. Do you know what I mean? Like that's something that you always play on your show, or
well, I mean, they vary. They really, really vary, because I genuinely love music from all eras and genres, and I'm all about feel-good music from all eras and genres. So I'm talking stuff in the 50s to stuff like now. So I mean, or within the last 10 years or whatever. But I think I do have a concept that I think within 1950 and the year 2000, so much brilliant stuff came about that it's hard to. A lot of what's good now is regurgitating what was brilliant. Like I love that song by Justin Timberlake, Can't Stop the Feeling, but it is a disco tune. I mean, it could have come out in the 70s. It could have come out at the same time as in the Sunshine Band. It could have come out at that time, but that's definitely one of my top 5. Then
if you had to, like, if let's say you were a teenager when you were finding your DJ career, what was it? Like, what were you listening to? Tell us some bands. Like,
oh dear. Well, now that's embarrassing, because I was really, because I was obsessed with the New Kids on the Block when I was growing up.
Oh.
And it was they were not a very cool band to say you liked, but I used to pretend I liked NWA and Public Enemy, and but deep down I just thought the New Kids were the coolest thing in the world, and I still do. Actually, weirdly enough, they're still my favorite group in the world, and that's where I then created my own groups from that sort of thing. But I watched a lot of American groups, so I was really into New Jack Swing, so the like R&B and stuff in America. So I'd watch a lot of that on MTV, and then create a lot of shows from that as well. So I don't know. What's my immediate go-to song right now? I'd say a song by a-ha called "You Are the One." That's if I could hear one song right now that I'd like to hear, and it wasn't even that active hit. It did all right, but it wasn't their big classic. But that's my favorite. But the thing is, when I'm gigging, I never know even what's my first song. My first song is. I always allow my intuition to take over the room, so I don't try to let myself make a logical decision. I make more of an intuitive decision on what the room wants and where the room's going, and no night is the same. So I never have a playlist. I never do that because you never know where the evening's going to go. And I was even the same on Jukebox when I was doing my live streams and the radio. I never ever have a plan, really. My plan is to be there and just do the best and get everybody smiling, dancing and pleasing people. Because the thing is, I can listen to my own songs on my own. Like, I'm obsessed with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, but I'm not going to spend the evening playing Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. But I like I said, love New Kids, and I love the Rolling Stones. Love Take That. But yeah, I love Jamiroquai. So yeah, I didn't really answer your question, did I?
No, I like the suggestions because and I want to share with you, Allan, because I think I'm probably I'm probably the person who listened to your show in the most countries, like most number of countries. Because I remember listening to your show in Asia, and then now in Italy, in Prague, in Slovakia. So I just want to let you know that you've been traveling with me, because your show, I don't know if it's still the same name, but it's the Feel Good Show, right?
Yeah.
And it's perfect because I feel good. Like when I listen to your show, even though these are not my era songs, I didn't grow up with these, but I just enjoy them so much because it's such a nice selection. And sometimes they repeat and I am like, yeah, this is Allan's show. When I hear it somewhere, this is Allan. Yeah.
Do you know, I have a segment in my show called my favorite new old song, meaning a song that I absolutely really love that I may not have heard before. And I played a Simon and Garfunkel song. Oh, we're gone. We're gone?
No, we are here. Just your camera.
No, someone's calling me through instant messenger. No, they're going to have to wait. They're going to have to wait. Okay. Lee Cook from The Bell. You're going to have to wait. Okay. So there you go.
Yeah. And is there something?
A favorite old song. And that's where it's a song that I may not have heard before, but someone introduces it to me. And I don't know, like Saturday night, I was introduced to this Simon and Garfunkel song. And I was, my gosh, it was just so lovely. And I played it on the show the other day. Oh, there's a gospel bit. And someone on the beach stopped me and just told me, you must check this song out. It's so good. And they play it for me on their phone. And I'm like, yeah, I love it too. We're going to play that this week. So I love how it comes together. Without too much of a plan, because if you force it too much, if you force creativity too much, I do think you can ruin the magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got I want to say that it comes with practice, and you are very confident about this. So we like to wing it, right? Like you can wing it. You're not really scared. Like, okay, if I blip, I'm gonna feel embarrassed. Like you just always know how to play it out, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think live is always better for that. I mean, like you pointed out earlier, that when I used to do my clips on Facebook or Instagram, I used to do 3 ones and I'd choose the best one. Whereas I suppose with live, you can't do that. You just have to own it and walk in it and take control of the room. I've played in some bars that are really, really, well, I'll use the word tasty, but it's quite rough. And I remember going with one of my really good friends, Ian Menard, and he came with me to a gig outside Dorset, so a little bit further towards Southampton. And it was a really rough Christmas Eve. And I remember him saying to me, mate, oh God, do you really want to do this? But it is a case of just taking authority of the room and making them listen to you rather than you listen to them. And it's almost like, don't let the fear take over. You have to walk in authority. That is the most important thing. The worst thing for me is if it's a quiet room and there's not many people. That for me is abysmal. But if it's the bigger the room, the bigger the crowd, the bigger the energy, even if it's rowdy, even if it's rough, even if it's really obnoxious, the better, because you can really work with that. For me, like I said, worst thing is playing to a room that's not got many people in it. That's just horrible. Yeah, horrible.
I've got 2 more questions for you.
2 more, okay.
The first one came from Boris.
Boris?
Yes, it's my partner.
Your partner, okay.
He's asking, because he obviously knows you when I watch your show, like he's also watching. And he wants to know, like, you as this outgoing personality, how did you manage going through lockdown? What was like you
we've
going?
talked about it. No, it was through my live streams, without a doubt. It was through my live streams and my most depressed days. I'd say 80% of lockdown for me, I was quite joyful because I look for, when I'm doing a gig at night, I look forward to playing so much that I don't really want to talk to anybody during the day. It sounds absolutely silly. I love to get in the zone. Well, you must have seen that when you came with me to the radio show. I'm not very good with communication with anybody for about 2 hours before I do a gig anywhere. And so for me, I just treated lockdown like doing a season away in Dubai, because I played in Dubai once for 3 months, and I went on stage every night, and then during the day I was lingering around a hotel waiting to go on at night. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm very comfortable because I suppose I get a lot of it out when I'm working. So it didn't send me nuts. For me, the worst point, like I said, 80% I was very joyful. I'd say 10% I was sad, and the other 10% I was just drunk. 10% is not bad, is it? That's not too bad.
Can someone be a DJ? Can someone who doesn't drink be a DJ? Like good DJ?
Can they be a good DJ? Yes, of course they can. And I don't ever drink at a gig before about 2 hours in. If that makes sense. I won't ever drink before a gig and stuff like that. I used to. Obviously, I've done it, but I don't anymore.
But people also buy you drinks, right? Like, imagine
yeah, that has been the problem. I don't really do many gigs that go later than 1 o'clock anymore because of that reason, because there was a time, and health is vital, with this whole law of attraction. That's one thing. I think when you were in Bournemouth, I was playing in a place called Charminster, and I literally would be playing till 4 a.m, 3 nights a week. And I didn't and the alcohol consumption was quite intense, to the point that I didn't know how much I was having. So I have a good 4 or 5 days a week where I just don't even touch even a drop of alcohol. But do you know what's funny when you're saying about people buying you drinks? That happened a lot during lockdown. That there's an off license in Westport.
Oh yes, I remember.
And people would literally, from the north of England or even sometimes other countries, phone that not off license and get the off license to drop me over Guinness or brandy.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, you naughty people. You very naughty
pizza.
Can you send me a pizza, did you say?
Did they send you any pizza or any food or just drinks?
No, it was always drinks. I wasn't really. Well, there was the odd occasion where I said, look, I don't need any more. Could you bring me a pizza instead? Because they did have pizza there. But no, I do love my pizza. Awesome. You like your pizza too, don't you?
Yes, pizza, pasta, all of it.
My God. And you're in Italy. You've got the best of the world. Is it good?
You know what, Alan, the pasta they have here, the selection is unbelievable.
Really?
Like yesterday, I had pasta made of lentils, quinoa, chickpea, and buckwheat, and rice. I loved it. I am a health freak, so I liked it. But there's a what I want to say. There's a huge selection.
Is there such thing as a healthy pizza?
Yeah, gluten free.
Yeah, I suppose I need to start getting into it.
Gluten-free, without lactose, and with lots of vegetables. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to the next question because we're going to wrap up soon.
And this is the last question, isn't it? Last question.
It's the last question, and I have one bonus question, but very, very short. So because we have lots of young people watching as well, so I want you to sum up, if they want to become successful, what do they need to do? Like, is there any, can they study this, or what is it that they would need to do? Like, how would it start?
Do you know what? I don't think I'm in a position to really answer that. I mean, it's lovely that you are asking me that though. And I feel very honored that you're asking me that. But I'm nowhere near where I see myself really. That sounds silly, doesn't it? But it doesn't mean I'm not grateful. Doesn't mean I'm not grateful for where I am. But I suppose you've just got to you've got to find what you love to do, because if you're trying to be successful at something you don't do, there's no way I could have dedicated 8 months to something that I wasn't being paid for. if I didn't absolutely adore it, and that's where I say lockdown was difficult. Financially, it was an absolute nightmare.
But you got all these drinks that you could sell.
Say that again. Well, you can't just live off Guinness. Well, you can actually officially, can't you?
You could sell it back to the shop.
But yeah, I suppose I'm just saying it was a nightmare. But realistically, you will never, ever, ever be really successful at something if you don't really like it.
Yeah.
You won't. I tell you, I love that story that Jim Carrey tells. Jim Carrey is one of the best comedians in the absolute world. But he says that his father was a better comedian, but his father went to get a proper job, what's known as a proper job. And his father went and became an accountant. His father hated accountancy, but it was a proper job that he was told by his father that he should do, because you'll never make any money out of comedy and you'll never do it. And then his father's accountancy business went dead when he was 44, 46 age, and the whole family suffered from it. And his father became Jim Carrey's advice, because his father said, well, he failed at something he even hated. Well, wouldn't you rather just fail at something that you love to do? And also, you're never really failing. You fail forward, don't you? If something's not working, you're just going, okay, that was a learning experience. I think it's really important to know when something doesn't work, and have the, I see a lot of people that try and do something and it's like they're still going, and I've been guilty of this in the past as well, where you try and make something happen that clearly isn't happening. And then you go, there should be a point when you go, right, okay, this isn't quite happening. That doesn't mean give up on your dreams, but maybe move around a little bit. And that kind of comes back to the pop star thing. When I said, I loved, I really wanted that as a teenager. Well, realistically, you're moving around. It's still the same journey. It's still entertainment. It's still cousins of the same dream. So I suppose I'm still doing it. It's just everything's just different. Yeah, I think the most important thing is love what you do and just keep doing it, and don't waste your time on something you really do not like doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I just want to say, as you said, like, we don't fail, but fail actually is first attempt in learning.
Yeah, I agree.
When you say no to something, it's a next opportunity.
Yeah.
And if something ends, its effort never dies. So I love that.
Well, sorry, I'm still talking about, I will use this as an example. When I went on Britain's Got Talent, and I got to the semi-finals on Britain's Got Talent, and I remember the first 2 times I went on there, I never got past the coffee boy, and it was when I'd just come back from America. And I remember I never got even further because I was going on as a serious DJ. I was trying to be a serious DJ. And then the third time I went on there, I thought, I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to fall over and do my thing. And I'm just going to own the type of person I am. And I'm just going to go for it. And the funny thing was, I really kept going further and further, but I did manifest that. I said, I'm going to make it to the semi-finals. I did say that. And I even, just before our interview today, read something I wrote 2 years prior to that, where I said, I really want to go on Britain's Got Talent and I'm going to go on, I just wrote BGT, I'm going to go on it. So it's quite fascinating. But the point I'm making is, lots of people said to me afterwards that were quote unquote serious, proper DJs, as it were, and I got so trolled, but people said, I could have done that. I could have done that. Oh, and you only made it to the semi-finals, you failed. And I'm like, well, hang on. I'm doing it, and I might have failed. I might not have got to the semi. But have you really failed if you try? I'd say the real failure is the person that's too arrogant to even give it a go.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, because it's so easy to judge, but not do. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's easy to judge others, what they do, but actually never do anything by themselves.
Hello. Can I just say hello, Irene Taylor? I see that you're watching. You're all right. Yeah, okay.
Oh, perfect. My last bonus question is, tell us the most peculiar place or event where you DJ'd.
Oh, gosh. That's a really good question. I don't necessarily have a really good answer, because I've DJ'd in loads of peculiar places. But to be honest, I'd get back to what I said before. Anytime I'm gigging, it becomes the gig. And you're just doing it. I've definitely got some favorite places I've played.
Okay, maybe pick one, like the most interesting or the most famous, or I don't know, pick something.
BGT was quite famous, Britain's Got Talent, but then also the JW Marriott, I played that 3 years in a row in Dubai. That was brilliant.
I thought you meant Bournemouth.
What's that, sorry?
I thought you meant Marriott in Bournemouth, where I used to work.
Oh, I played there loads of times, yeah. That wasn't that interesting. It was good, it was all right. It was very average. It was
the
very
older
much.
generation.
It happened. But I don't know, sometimes, I told you about that one for Christmas Eve, didn't I? And I must admit, it was so rough. I'm not going to say the name of the pub. I'm not even going to say the town it was in, and I'm not going to say what year it was New Year's Christmas Eve. But it was a Christmas Eve gig, and it was so rough. But the achievement felt fantastic to win the whole crowd over when it looked so scary, if that makes sense, because it looked like because they were booing me before I even started. Even while I'm setting up the gig, they were booing, and it was really intimidating. And that, I think that probably felt like the best gig in the sense of how to control an audience and so forth. But I've been very, you know what, Lenka, I mean, when you ask that question, I think I'm really lucky, because I've played in some really fantastic places, and a lot of them have been sometimes quite odd, and then they get really good because we really manipulate the room. The job is to manipulate the room and create an ambience, you know, and once you're creating the ambience, if it works, it works. And
how many, like, what countries you've played? You mentioned Dubai, Germany.
Yeah. Like California, Cyprus, Greece, Spain, North Africa, cruise ships, Germany, obviously, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Yeah, I mean, yeah, loads.
You were planning to come to India when I was there.
If you get me a gig in India, I will be there. It's that pure and simple.
I know, we talked about it, so that's quite funny. Well, Allan, I just want
I'm available. That's next year. There's going to be loads of that next year. Next year, I want to be. That is one thing I would love to be doing again, and probably inspired by you a little bit on this. Is I'd love to be traveling again to DJ and be outside and be just going to lots of the places, because I felt like even during lockdown, I was sometimes in these different places, even though I wasn't leaving my flat. And it would be really nice to go to, like, I've never been to Norway. I've never been to Iceland. I'd love to. I've never been to Slovakia. I'd love to go to Slovakia.
You must come.
Yeah.
And you can also DJ in Italy. But I'm thinking, because in India, the most favorite party place is Tito's Lane in Goa, where I also used to work. But they play a lot of, like, Goa, they play a lot of psychedelic music. I don't know if that's like your genre.
I think this is the thing, like, I don't really have my genre is playing feel-good music from all eras and genres. So all genres, psychedelic is one. If it's feel-good, I'll make it happen. Okay. And it's a case of, yeah, no, definitely. But I do think I'd bring my own flavor out there. But I would love playing in India. I would love to I would adore that. Yeah. I mean, for years, I really missed America. But if I'm honest, right now, there's so many other places in the world that I'd love to go and see, and that I haven't done. Like, I've never done Australia or New Zealand. I would love to go over to that side, and I'd like to go to Fiji or Guam. Wow. Over there. Have you been there?
No.
No.
I wasn't too far, but I didn't go to Fiji. There is this New Caledonia, which is nearby, and it's a French colony. There are, like, oddly a lot of French people working and earning a lot of money. Yeah. And, like, the locals are so poor. Like, I learned so much when I was traveling. Like, I learned so much about the countries and the world and the humanity, that I would say. Right. Yeah.
Do you know what's weird? I say I really want to play in Vancouver and Bahamas. I've never been to Vancouver. But in essence, I'm there every week because my show goes out there. So it's, I remember watching an Elvis Presley thing about Elvis where he said, and I'm not comparing myself to Elvis, just for the record, but I am a massive Elvis fan. And I remember him being really upset because he said, I want to travel around the world, man. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to all these places. I want to go to Australia. I want to go to England. I want to go. And the Colonel all the Colonel did, his manager at the time, was get him into Las Vegas, and he was really upset that the only place he was playing was Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But there's two ways to look at that. Okay, what maybe from a personal angle, he didn't get to go to these places, but there's no doubt that his work did spread out to those places, and he did. So in essence, Elvis did go to these places, but he, as a person, didn't get to experience himself. So, but I would like to personally experience. Slovakia.
You will.
Yeah, it's happening.
We'll get you there. We'll get you there. Well, Allan, it's just been really enjoyable. I just want to say, like, thank you so much for coming on my show. And
where's Boris?
Boris is watching in another room.
This is your partner. Is he he's Italian?
Yes, he's Italian.
Okay. What does he do?
He's what does he do? He's now at the crossroads of his life. So let's see what's the next step.
See you at the crossroads. Okay, yes.
But if you remember, once we were in Prague and he requested Big in Japan.
Right, yes, I remember.
And you're like, who is Boris? Is it Boris Johnson? What is Lenka Daisy doing with Boris Johnson?
Well, when we hear the word Boris in Britain, we're now pretty much Boris Island at the moment.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Well, Allan, thank you so much. I always enjoy our chats, and I'm going to bring you back again. Like, you're going to be back.
Oh, look, we got a message from Irene, and it's a real positive one.
Oh.
Can you look at Irene's message?
Hi, Allan. Doing a tremendous job DJing. You have a lot of followers, been going a long time. Keep going. Our friends are at home listening. Oh my God, thank you so much, Irene. I remember Irene from Twitch.
Irene was on Twitch. You're absolutely right. She's Irene Taylor.
Yeah.
She's always on Twitch. Yeah.
I remember she was twitching there.
Okay. We'll be back.
Well,
Okay.
I'm sad to say goodbye but I'm just going to say thank you also to all of our viewers and everyone who's watching, even from archive. Please leave a comment. Tell us where you're watching from, so we know which part of the world you're in, and tell us if you want Allan to come back and which topic you want him to talk on.
Tell me if you want.
Well, thank you so much. Your last words to the audience.
Pizza and Guinness, please.
Woohoo! Bye.
God bless. Thank you.